Welcome to TalkNorth.com. Thanks to our longtime producer, Brandon Morton. Please download before you listen. If you'd like to advertise with us, you can reach us at talknorthpodcast@gmail.com. And please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. Two promo codes to be aware of. BiteSquad.com. Use the promo code TalkNorth to get your first delivery free. And go to SodaStick.com, the great local apparel company. Use the promo code YouBetcha to get free shipping on any sized order. Roy, on the biggest day of the season, the Twins did not have one of their pitchers from their starting rotation, anybody who really profiles as even a starting pitcher, start a baseball game in a doubleheader, and they swept the doubleheader to pretty much put themselves in great shape to win the division. Now we are watching Kyle Gibson struggling with, obviously he's not healthy. He's not healthy and strong. Martin Perez continues to be up and down. The Twins are going to win the division. They're going to face a really good team. And they might only use two starting pitchers in that series, and that might be the right decision.
It really might be the right decision. And before it sounds like we're denigrating Kyle Gibson, we do have to acknowledge what he's been through.
Right. That's the thing. He just doesn't have the strength. He's just not healthy.
I just don't think he's healthy. I mean, also, so when you think about what he's been through in the last 9 or 10 months, he had E. coli in the winter. It took him a while to get over that. Now he gets into the season and gets ulcerative colitis and lost a bunch of weight on a frame that really shouldn't lose a lot of weight.
Anyway.
Yeah, and so you'd like to be able to think, all of us players, want to say that we can play through anything, we play hurt, and all that kind of stuff. But it's impossible to know the way he's really feeling. Maybe it's impossible for him to know how he's really feeling. And it's hard. I can't imagine it'd be easy to have your legs underneath you on the mound after you've been through what he's been through, and enterology wise. So, to answer your question, especially with the success that they had in that first game of the doubleheader in Cleveland, and with the arms that they have in the bullpen now, it's not hard to imagine that it could be Barrios and Odorizzi and bullpen.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you said about Gibson is correct. He just isn't strong. And I know there are some people who didn't play baseball or are kind of casual baseball fans who might think that it's just a skill game. It's a power and skill game. You need to drive off the mound and whip your body in a way that your arm whips through to deliver, a 90 to 95 mile an hour fastball and high spin rates. It's a power game. And if you don't have your strength, you're just not the same pitcher.
You're not the same player. It doesn't matter what position you play. That's absolutely right. It's all about how strong your legs are. And there's two things with hitters. There's legs and hands. And there's one, obviously the arm for a pitcher, but the foundation for a pitcher is the leg strength and the ability to sustain the power movement against the rubber toward the plate, as you suggest. Sustain that for 100 pitches, and have the ability to sustain it to the same release point time after time. That's not that easy.
No, absolutely not. I once read a sports scientist who said that the common denominator between all great athletes, if you're just breaking down like what's important, is it important to have biceps? Is it important to have big shoulders? Is it important to have strong calves? Whatever. And this guy found that the common denominator between great athletes was strong gluteus maximus and strong wrist and hands, because the butt is kind of a power pack, and your hand you use your hands.
So enough said about Kirby Puckett.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, Kirby did not look like an athlete. He did not look like a traditional athlete, but he had a big, strong butt. He had powerful hands and forearms and wrists, and that's what he needed.
So I'll tell you a quick story about relating to that. In 1986, we had come back to the Twins in 1985. We built a house on a lot that we had owned that we'd always thought we were going to build before I got traded to the Yankees, but we kept the lot. We came back here and built the house that we wanted to build on that lot after all. And in the Christmas season of 1986, we had a big housewarming party. And of course, I invited all of my Twins teammates, and we had it be black tie optional just for fun. And so, not a lot of guys had tuxes. A lot of guys dressed up as best they could. Puck went and rented a tux because he thought he was supposed to. Now you got to remember, Puck was 3 years into the big leagues at the time, 84, 85, and then I take it back. This might have been in the Christmas season of 85, and we had so he'd been in the league 2 years. Went and rented a tux, and it was a single vent in the back. And he showed up, and he came up to me, and he turned around and said, Small, what are you trying to do to the puck here? And he turned around, and the vent in the back was stretched so it looked like it was a rip in his coat. It was one flap was over his left cheek, and one flap was over his right cheek, and never the twain shall meet. And he goes, how can you do this to the puck? How can you do this to puck? Make me wear something, make me look like this. It was hilarious. It was a wonderful thing.
And, Puck was a cliche monster. He took the Derek Jeter approach. I'm going to be available to the media every day, and I'm never going to say anything. But the one thing you could get him going on was his body. He would rip on his own body at any time. Yeah,
that was great. It was great. So, but anyway, he had all the attributes. He had butt power. He had wrist and hand strength. No question.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to thank our sponsors, Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com, Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent, HOAGLUND, and Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. Use the Bite Squad promo code TalkNorth to get your first delivery fee waived, and continue to use Bite Squad after that. It's a great company. They're still growing, and they've been very supportive of our network. This is TalkNorth.com, and of course, this is Roy Smalley's Chin Music. He's Roy Smalley. I'm Jim Suhan. And we do a weekly show about the Twins, mostly about the Twins, but baseball in general, and occasionally some music. And in the offseason, we do a lot of music and pop culture as well. Just this has been such a great Twin season. We've concentrated on baseball the last 6 months or so. So, Rocco Baldelli, I don't think there's any doubt he's going to be the manager of the year. And as I wrote about today, his three predecessors, Kelly, Gardenhire, Molitor, all won the Manager of the Year award. What do you see being Rocco's strengths?
Well, his great strength is timing. I have said a lot. I'd like to be the hitting coach of the New York Yankees or the Los Angeles Dodgers. Wouldn't mind being a manager that was presented with a blossoming Max Kepler, Jorge Polanco, Eddie Rosario, and then be given Nelson Cruz and Jonathan Scope and C.J. Cron and Marwin Gonzalez, and blossoming Miguel Sano and Byron Buxton if he were to stay healthy. I mean, the best thing about Rocco is that he inherited that ball club. After saying that, I think he and his staff have done a remarkable job of putting things in place. The most important thing that a manager can do besides managing the pitching staff will be to create an environment that works for the players that you have. And what that means is there's a lot of things, but one of them has to do with how do you put guys in a position, and I don't mean necessarily a position on the field, but how do you put them in a position where they can be most successful? And one of the ways that a manager can create that great culture is for guys to know that the manager is actually thinking about them as an individual and saying, okay, what's best for this guy? How can this guy most help the club by me putting him in a situation that where he can thrive the best? And I think Rocco's done a lot of those kinds of things. And I think the hire of Wes Johnson and Jeremy Hefner that formed the pitching coaching staff have done an excellent job too with the individual pitchers that they have. Doesn't always work, every game, time in, time out. But they've made a lot of improvements with a lot of guys, and I think they deserve a lot of credit too.
Yeah, and I have another point to make about that and managing in general and the job Rocco's done. I do want to thank Barry Coffee, BarryCoffee.com. Roy, do you have anything to add about the many things we've said about Barry Coffee, or should I just go ahead?
Well, the only thing, you could go ahead because you talk about it very well. But the only thing that I'll stress, and we talk about how much we personally enjoy the product, but I just don't think that that it can be overstressed what the service model is for them. It's 24/7 service on all of their equipment commercially, all around Twins territory, what we'll call Twins territory, but all around Minnesota and up to from Fargo to Rochester and all points in between east and west. And they just promise and deliver on 24/7 service. And what they're seeing, and the reason they're growing so fast, is because people may try, businesses and restaurants may try other areas, may try other companies. But then when a machine breaks or something's going wrong, then it's, well, we can get somebody out there in 3 days, and they're either going to Barry Coffee or going back to Barry Coffee because the 24/7 promise is real. And I think you just don't see that very often today, and I think that's one of the hallmarks.
Yep. And I have some things to say about Barry Coffee. I'll save them for next show, though. That was about as good as it gets. Barry Coffee, BarryCoffee.com. Home, office, restaurant, bar, wherever you are, Barry Coffee is great to work with. So my point about managing is it's not contradictory to say that Rocco was really lucky to land with this group and that a manager can't. It's not like football where a football coach chooses the offense coordinator, the defense coordinator, the offensive scheme, the defensive scheme. Every assistant coach sets the roster, can either calls the plays or oversees the calling of plays, the game planning, teaching of technique. I mean, football, if you have a great football coach, eventually the great football coach is going to win and find a way to win. Baseball, you can manage as well as humanly possible, and you can lose 100 games if the players don't have the ability, or maybe you can take them from 100 losses to 95 losses if you're a great manager. But so it's not contradictory to say that Rocco is not the driving force of this team being good, but that he is a good manager and has done a very good job. It's just that I think the casual sports fan overrates how much a manager can affect a team.
I think that's absolutely true, and I think what Rocco has done well, besides what I said before about setting the tone and the culture, and is to be consistent with everybody all the time, to be positive all the time, to set as goals and character of a club what he expects, and then manage to that expectation all the time. And I think Rocco's done all of those kinds of things, and especially for this kind of club that has a mix of young, blossoming stars and guys that have been there, done that. I think he's struck the perfect chord for this particular team, and that's not easy to do. And a lot of it is it's a great hire. It would seem by Derek Falvey and Thad Levine for that personality, to recognize his intelligence and the personality, because his personality, and the way he conducts himself just fits this ball club, and whether or not they actually realize that would be the case. I mean, I don't know that it was as cut and dried as, boy, if we get Nelson Cruz, he's really going to help Miguel Sano. I mean, that was pretty much expected. Whether or not they know that Rocco's personality was going to be the perfect fit for the club they ultimately put together here, and we don't know that. But what we can say, I think, is that it is a great fit, and Rocco has adapted who he is, or has taken who he is and what his personality is and what his thoughts about baseball and a baseball team are, and applied them very well to this team. I don't think there's any question.
I want to pass on something our friend Ryan Lefevre told me at the ballpark last night. I also want to do a couple Twitter questions and get to another couple of subjects. Do want to thank Tony Hoagland, Hoaglund. Tony's sponsors a number of programs around the network, and he is running a promo to benefit